Welcome back to Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. I'm Tammi Mack. Hello, everyone. The business of being Black today is: our schools safer when we arm our teachers? Rand?
Yeah, I was going to answer the question, should tax funding or be used for teacher trainings? I would say no. I'd like to see that money used to train teachers with respect to culturally relevant pedagogy, culturally responsive teaching.
But
I,
can't it be both? Can't it be used for both? Can't we walk and
I
chew gum at the same
would
time?
I would I would rather see that money go there first. Let's put it that way. If I can be technical, let that money go there first before we even start thinking about training teachers to be armed with guns. Because I think, for one thing, our teachers aren't culturally responsive. They're not culturally using culturally relevance. We don't have enough texts that are reflective of our students. I'm talking about Black students in particular. We don't have teachers that are equipped to dealing with Black students. There have been research. I wrote a research study in 2017 talking about how white teachers tend to view our students in particular ways, thinking that certain behaviors elicit certain responses. So I think that that's important. And not just for that, but for schools where Black students aren't in the majority, where they may be in the minority. I think it's important that we do that kind of training as well, because again, as the pastor mentioned, many of these school shootings that we're referring to, the mass shootings, happen in suburban schools where white students are in the majority. White young males are the ones doing the shooting. I think that a lot of this teaching, a lot of the fear of talking about history, the fear of talking about critical race theory, for example, I think if we were to be truthful about history, truthful about the American experience for all people, we can begin to sort of myth shatter some of those things that are plaguing those school shooters, who think that they are isolated, think that they are alone, think that they are other people of color trying to take their country, trying to take their opportunities. I think if we put some funding in those areas to help teachers, be preemptive in that way, be proactive in that way, I think that can go a long way.
So
Those
let me make sure I'm clear here, Rand. You're suggesting that if government funds were spent more on a culturally educating our teachers, that these mass shootings wouldn't happen or would happen less?
No, I didn't say that they wouldn't happen. I'm saying that if you do that, you can preempt some of them from happening. Because again, if we're looking at who's doing the shooting, many of those massacres are white males, young white males, and some of them are, coerced by some of these various white supremacist groups. Some of these folks are, reading some of these things that we find on social media that
A
aren't
lot
true.
of this comes from home as well, we have to admit.
And they very well could do that. But again, we know that for lack of a better word, teachers tend to be relied on, even in situations where kids have parents, where maybe parents aren't there, maybe parents aren't doing the best job that they possibly can. Maybe they are doing the best that they can, but they don't have the tools and the resources to do what it is that students may need. Teachers tend to be that resource. And so if we can help to equip teachers that way, I think that could go a long way.
all of these things that I'm agreeing with that. Again, y'all, we not disagreeing. We're saying that there are things that this is a holistic approach. That's like this argument that, like, I hear this all of the time. Like, somehow gun owners don't care about children, don't care about how many people die, and it's just false. All of these are a holistic. For not to sound too rough, but I'm all with Pan-African, African-centered. My daughter is homeschooled. I get it. I'm talking about in that moment when there is a clear-cut breakdown. None of these things that we're talking about protects a person except for a safe and responsible trained firearm owner. When we're talking about data, we're talking about any type of shooter of any background. Over 90%, when they are confronted with a hard potential target that they thought was a soft target, stops and either kills themselves or surrenders. You're talking about the Dylan Roofs of the world. I think you guys are also talking about the police officers, that energy where police officers are going to take Dylan Roof to Burger King after he murders a bunch of Black people. And I'm agreeing with you that there's some conflict there, but we're talking about brass tacks. The gun is in the hand of someone that is not there to do happy, happy, joy, joy to our students. I want y'all, you guys still aren't saying why you don't want the teachers to have the means to defend our babies' lives.
No,
I don't want teachers.
I
Go ahead, Doc.
fan of teachers having guns. They don't need to have guns. And I think you make the assumption that just because you do quote unquote training with teachers, that they're going to be prepared to make that judgment call.
That's what training is.
If you're in that situation, you can go through all the training in the world. We see police officers who are quote unquote trained, and we still see
police officers are the worst trained people in the world.
Does not matter. The point is that they're training. Who's to say that the training that the teachers are going to get is going to be competent?
The example that Marcel just gave is an example of it. If you go to only get 4 hours of instruction as opposed to someone that goes through 6 weeks of instruction, if you have Vault-Tec safes that are you got to use your fingerprints to open them. There's a protocol for everything. You guys are presenting a problem for every solution.
For any educator.
So let me ask this question. You make a good point, Maj. You make a good point. Hold that thought, Rand. Rand and Pastor Mike. I want to pose a direct question to you. Maj says, in that moment. So let's go to that moment. Let's say there's a school shooter that enters a classroom and begins to shoot, unload. In that moment, do you believe a teacher should have a gun, Pastor Mike?
No.
Rand?
No.
Y'all are crazy. Y'all are crazy.
But no, I'm not crazy.
Y'all are crazy. I love y'all, my brothers. This is spirited debate. But y'all are crazy. Have y'all ever been shot at?
Go ahead, Pastor.
Let me tell you why I'm not crazy. Because I've worked in classrooms with teachers, bro. And I'm telling you, you have this assumption about teachers that is not borne out in the reality of the American education system. The reality is teachers are disproportionately using force against Black children with suspension expulsions. Why is this important? You putting your head in your hand. Let me tell you why it's important. Why it's important. Because they are being trained right now not to do that to our kids, and they can't do that. They cannot act nonviolently. Large numbers of teachers cannot act nonviolent to our kids in nonviolent situations. And so I'm telling you that this idea that training alone, right, is going to, in a split second, cause a teacher to not accidentally shoot another child. They're going to have this laser focused aim to neutralize a target that is shooting at them. That is an unrealistic expectation. That does not even happen with the best civilian trained individuals.
You're wrong. You're saying things that are wrong, that are like just wrong. Pastor, you're saying things that are absolutely wrong.
Go ahead, Ray.
Your daughter is homeschooled.
Not because I don't want teachers to have arms.
It's homeschooled. So clearly you believe in homeschooling as opposed to putting your kid in public school, which I'm
Do you know why? Because most schools are gun-free zones. And I don't like that. I don't like that if somebody comes in where my precious daughter is and starts to pump out rounds, you guys are saying that my child doesn't have the right to have someone there to defend her life. No, so no, I just say no.
I'm saying a teacher comes in the moment. That
you make the assumption that the shooter is not going to see the teacher with the gun and shoot the teacher. And then what happens when the teacher gets shot?
You guys have not answered the question. You've danced around this question that Tammi Mack asked very simply. In that moment, if you guys listen, and again, I want everybody that's watching this, I want
the teacher to have the gun.
Right. I want the teacher to be an armed, safe, and responsible firearms owner that train, like we have organizations that are doing this type of training. Pastor Mike and Rand, do you guys train?
No.
Train with
firearms.
Yes.
Okay, so what type of training have you went through that you believe that your training means that you don't know about conflict resolution, de-escalation, sight alignment, sight picture, trigger control? What trainings have you went through that you've landed to the point that you don't even believe in the training that you take?
My training has had nothing to do with being in an education space. My training had to do with self-defense. And so I would not, as an educator.
That's not training.
Having been in a classroom, I can tell you I do not want to have a gun and have the responsibility of making that snap decision.
You don't. I do. The same reason why I carry a firearm. The same reason why I have a firearm right here.
Let's take a quick break and come right back on Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. We'll be right back. It's getting a little too hot in here. Folk pulling out guns.